My next guest on Tea Time with me, Ali Monjack, is Jacquiline Creswell, Curator of Spirit and Endeavour, the exhibition at Salisbury Cathedral to celebrate 800 years of the laying of the foundation stone. Jacquiline has brought together work from some of the most renowned contemporary artists of the 20th and 21st century. And as she says herself, the exhibition embodies the spirit, ambition, faith, and endeavour that has built this magnificent building. I had the pleasure of meeting her in person and having a tour of this wonderful exhibition. Let's find out more. It's lovely to be sat here with you today. Not that the public can actually sit here, can they, Jacqueline?
No, we're being a little bit naughty. We're going to have to clean this when we lift our bottoms up off this piece of stone that we're sitting on. But it is a glorious day, and we're very lucky to have such a lovely day for this. And to see you finally. Gosh, I think we've had a couple of interviews on Zoom, and this is the first time I've actually been able to take you around the exhibition.
And I'm really just honoured to be here today because it's even more spectacular. I know that almost sounds very cliche, doesn't it? But it is actually more spectacular looking at the pieces in real life than actually looking over them over the internet.
Thank you for saying that, but I have to say that nothing can really replace seeing a work of art in the situation that it was chosen for. So you have the context here of the cathedral and the work sitting in it. So I'm so delighted you enjoyed it. And I hope later you'll have a chance to walk outside and view all the other pieces in the close.
So Spirit and Endeavour, and what a spirit and endeavour that Salisbury Cathedral actually has, doesn't it?
Certainly. Well, you know that this year is our 800th anniversary. It's a very, very special year. So this exhibition has actually been in the planning for a long time. And yes, I mean, the people of Salisbury, look at our spirit, look at us after Novichok, etc. We do have this amazing sense of community and this amazing resilience. And I guess this exhibition was about all those stonemasons and those wood carvers and the builders and the glaziers who all came here, and it's their ingenuity and their creativity and their endeavour that created this amazing building. So this exhibition is a celebration to them because it's their spirit. They came here in the spirit of faith to build something extraordinary. So yes, this is all about them, really. It's all about Salisbury and about the people who built it.
So I mean, that was 800 years ago.
It's a long time ago, yes. The world was a very different place then. And funny enough, thinking about 800 years ago, I mean, that means that the cathedral went through the plague, bubonic plague, and other, goodness knows how many other plagues and wars and all of that forms part of the history of this amazing building. It's full of ritual and history.
It is full of ritual and history. It has that breathtaking feeling, doesn't it? When you enter the cathedral anyway, you can almost feel the history that's been before. I mean, it's taken you 3 years to put together this amazing exhibition to celebrate the 800 years. I mean, in the beginning, were you looking at the history and who did what, and if you could find anything in the library?
Oh gosh, so much research went into this because every work of art has been chosen not only for who the artist was, because obviously this is most of the artists are Turner Prize winners or Royal Academicians or Fourth Plinth artists, but and in choosing the work has a narrative of its own, but in the contents of the exhibition, the narrative fits in with the Spirit and Endeavour story. So, for instance, when you walk inside, you see the Grace and Perry death of a working hero. And we stop and we see that there is a gentleman in a coffin, and although I've chosen it because I wanted us to celebrate the wonderful people who built the cathedral and lost their lives in building the cathedral, but also the fact that these people were heroes. And he brings that, so that was chosen for that reason. Because not only is it showing the industry of people, but the fact that they are celebrated. The people who built this place are our heroes. Because here it stands today, 800 years later.
To think, cast your mind back to 800 years ago. As you said, you've done part of the exhibition to celebrate the people that built the cathedral. I mean, can you imagine that 800 years ago, that would have been their only job?
Yes, actually it was quite interesting doing some research. What would happen was, so you would get for instance, a gentleman who carves a bauble or a circle, and so he would then go, because a lot of these cathedrals were all built within a certain period, over a certain period, sort of 12th, 13th centuries, etc. And so they would actually go to Chichester, and though Chichester is earlier, so Winchester perhaps, and would do some stone carving for them, and then would come here. So their job would be to carve a certain thing. But a lot of people were born, obviously, because their parents came to Salisbury to build here, and then were taught the trade that their parents had taught them. So yes, I mean, people and we still today have a stonemason's yard here, and we have a glazier's yard as well. So it's interesting to think that all of those art, the mediums and the craft in making these things, still today we're doing the same thing here at Salisbury, which is wonderful. Yeah. And I'm not sure really whether there are any people who are related directly. That would be interesting to know, but I don't know that.
So what was the first piece that you actually chose for the exhibition?
How interesting, you should ask me that. So the first piece I chose was, and poor Mark Wallinger. So Mark Wallinger was doing some project in 2015 for Runnymede to do with Magna Carta, and he came to visit the cathedral, and I cornered him. And I told Mark all about this exhibition, and I asked him if we could please have Threshold to the Kingdom, and he said yes. And that was the first piece. So that was amazing. That was the first piece. And I knew exactly where it was going to be, in the Trinity Chapel, and I'm hoping later you'll get a chance to show your followers this amazing work in the Trinity Chapel with Allegri's Miserere singing. And it's called Threshold to the Kingdom because Mark is sort of playing with words. It is a video. It is an 11-minute video taken outside the arrivals hall at the city airport. So it's a video of people being welcomed into the United Kingdom. But where it sits in the Trinity Chapel, it also talks about being welcomed into the kingdom of God. And you have a gentleman sitting at the desk on the right, sort of as St. Paul. But what's really interesting is these are not actors in this video. They are just ordinary people. And it's so wonderful that you see them coming through the door, and they've all got this sense of, where am I? That sort of sense of sort of disorientation in a way of, where am I? But I don't know if you remember, as a child, I used to go and wait at the airport for my aunt or uncle or father to visiting us from wherever they were. And that sense of anticipation and love, waiting for my loved one to come through. And you get a sense of that in the video as well. There is one section in particular which is considering that we can't hug each other today, or people can't kiss or embrace, and there is an elderly lady waiting for somebody, and they have this wonderful embrace, and it just gives me, it's tingly, to think that that's being shown, today in a place where this is no, which is interesting.
It's strange, isn't it? Because, at the time when you first decided on the first piece to go in the exhibition, we didn't know this was ever going to happen.
No. Well, it's a bit like we started installing in March, beginning of March, and every day we had obviously everything planned, because not everything can be installed at the same time, because the monumental pieces outside take 4 or 5 days to install. And we managed to... The exhibition was supposed to open on the 25th of March, and on the 20th we were told more or less that we were probably having to close the cathedral on Monday the 23rd, by which time we had only 19 of the 20 pieces up, and we hadn't yet got Martin Creed's. And we had to put that up when we reopened the cathedral in, when was it, July? That had to be installed in July, so we actually didn't manage to install everything.
So that was the last piece to be installed in the collection.
Manage to do it, yeah. And it's that sense of, okay, now what? 3 years to build this exhibition. All the planning, obviously, although I'm the curator and it's sort of my concept, etc., you never work on your own. You always have lots of people helping you. And I like to work like that. I like everybody to come aboard because it's everybody's exhibition.
Yes.
And then for us to kind of think, now what? Now what? I thought it was just going to be 3 weeks, and then we'd be back. Ha. Forever the optimist.
Yeah, and here we are. I mean, there's 20 pieces.
There are 20 visiting pieces, but then we have obviously our permanent collection, and a piece that you could probably see across there, 2 pieces. One is Emily Young's Angel Head, and the large yellow disc is Barbara Hepworth's construction crucifixion, which is part of our permanent collection. And outside part of our permanent collection is Helene Blumenfeld's Angel's Harmony and Elizabeth Frink's Walking Madonna.
Oh.
And then out there you've got wonderful monumental works. So outside you have these enormous monumental pieces, and some of them actually quite playful. You have enormous reclining figure by Henry Moore. You have a wonderful glass staircase by Danny Lane. Sort of as you're walking down the path, as if you're entering the cathedral, it's almost an optical illusion, because in some ways you look as though you can actually climb up those stairs all the way to the spire, and some people call it Stairway to Heaven. I want people to embrace it and make it their own. And we've got beautiful Lynn Chadwick's couple sitting on the bench. Conrad Shawcross, Formation 1, that wonderful big bucket you saw as you're coming in, Gupta, and we've got a wonderful round sky station seat that invites people to lie back and have a look at the spire and the sky and just contemplate life. And we've got quite a bit to contemplate, yeah.
We have got quite a bit to contemplate, and I mean that is the purpose of this exhibition, though, is contemplation of the last 800 years, isn't it? I mean, how amazing to think that the building is still standing here in all its beauty and form. I mean, many of the artists that you have chosen are no longer with us. Is there apart from Mark, is there any other artists that are kind of with us?
Oh gosh, a lot of them are contemporary artists. I'd say most of them are contemporary artists. So we've got Tony Cragg, he's still with us. Martin Creed is a young artist as well. Obviously, Barbara Hepworth isn't with us, and Elizabeth Frink isn't with us any longer, and neither is Henry Moore. All in Chadwick, actually. I didn't think about this. But, and Craigie Aitchison isn't with us any longer. Neither is Eduardo Palozzi. Gosh, you've really got me thinking. But yes, it's a real mixture of contemporary. Well, I would say that it's a collection of 20 works of art from the past 20th and 21st century.
And, what's the oldest artist? I mean, how long ago was that one of those pieces done that aren't alive, say, Henry Moore?
Henry Moore, that I think was done in 1983. So they're still, and looking at it today, it almost looks like it was made yesterday. And it is the feature piece on our catalogue, because it's this stark contrast between this beautiful, large, white organic form set against this Gothic architecture with all its sharp edges and its arches. So you really, when you see the two together, the contrast makes you really see the cathedral in a different way. And of course, we call this Mother Church, and so she is a mother, and she's got this wonderful embracing arms for people to kind of take sanctuary in, and this is, of course, a sanctuary as well. So there's all these little to's and fro's, and her arms standing there actually it was only when she was installed did I notice this, were so much like our flying buttresses, being supporting the walls of the cathedral, and here she is supporting herself, and you can stand under it and sort of be part of it and supported by her. So it's funny because when you choose a work of art in your head, and because I've been working here for so long, you kind of know where you're going to put it, and when you put a work of art in a certain context, the place you're putting it is altered by the work of art, but the work of art itself is altered by the place, which is quite interesting. So you have this interesting dialogue taking place there.
And it is an interesting dialogue, let's face it.
It is.
And it has been said, hasn't it, by one media body, shall we say, in London, The Guardian, that it is the best exhibition outside of London.
Yes, we got voted number 1. Yes, and that was last week. In fact, we've been very lucky. We've had a lot of media coverage on our exhibition, and I'm so pleased for the cathedral and our community, because this is about the community, and if it is bringing people to us and helping us survive and lifting our spirits, and yeah, that's what it's about, really.
Well, Jacqueline, you've certainly done that.
Oh, thank you.
So congratulations, definitely.
Thank you.
And I think, in a time that we're actually living through, who could have made it up, really? I think it's a beacon of hope. The fact that the cathedral on its own is 800 years old, has made it through everything, Spanish flu, pandemics, world wars.
Yeah.
And bubonic plague, here we are. And, now you have this wonderful artwork that really, really is keeping people going.
Inspiring as well. And let's keep in mind that we will come and go, okay? But in 800 years' time from now, please God, this building will still be standing. So we are really just this pinprick in the history of this place. Which a lot of the works inside also talk about. In particular, the Gormley. You have this shimmering figure, which isn't a whole figure. It looks like a whisper of a figure up high in the scissor arch, looking down on us. And you think, and in some places in the cathedral you can see it, and in some places it almost disappears. And it talks about sort of absence and presence, and the fact that we're frail, brave humans, okay? And in our time, the frail, brave humans actually made this building.
Yes.
And we made it, and they've gone, and the building is still here. And we'll go, and the building will still be here.
It's quite remarkable, actually. I love the Gormley when you showed it to me, because it almost felt as if, God's presence. I mean, what a silly thing to say, because, God's presence is clearly here, isn't he?
Yes.
She, or... Yes,
Presence.
the presence of God is here in the cathedral. Yes. I mean, it's such a beautiful spiritual place, and what a great choice of artwork, really. And you've even gone digital.
Yes, we've got a wonderful piece by Stanza called The Reader, and it's all about data, and he uses this wonderful word called infobesity, which means that we have continually bombarded with information till it's almost overload, and this is one of his works that sort of collects data, and it reads so many thousands of books, and it's got this wonderful light, this blue heart that pumps, and whenever I see that I kind of think, I get goosebumps, because maybe that's the future. Maybe in another 800 years' time, when this building's standing, people will be like that when they come in here.
What, will all be robots?
Who knows? Who knows?
I hope not, Jacqueline.
Well, they won't feel this cold stone under our bottoms. That's all I can say.
No, I mean, it is true that, it does keep children also able to identify with God and the spiritual being that, he or she is.
Actually, when you enter that space, you're kind of leaving your everyday behind, and you're entering a space that isn't only awesomely beautiful, but it's full of history and spirituality and ritual. Okay, and that is going to impact on how you see things and how you feel when you enter a place like that. Because you do see and feel and think differently. So yes, and all those works. Inside, of course, they're smaller, you have to search for them, which is quite interesting. So they're not obviously in front of you. And so like when you do come across them, you can ask questions of yourself. You know, why is that there? What part does this play? How do I feel about that? You know, how does it make me feel? You know, questions like that.
Which is, you know, the sign of a truly brilliant exhibition as well, because, you know, as you said before, it's truly about contemplation, isn't it? You know, contemplating the last 800 years and God.
Yes, yeah. I think we need something. We need faith at this point, don't we? We need something to believe in, especially now, given what we're faced with. We need something to hold on to.
Well, as you said, you know, this hopefully will be here in the next 800 years, and, you know, that we have marked a point in time.
We've put our little cross in history, and the exhibition is on now till April 2021.
Because it wasn't, was it?
No, we were actually going to close it this month, 25th of October. But I have to say, the galleries and artists and studios that I have worked with have all been wonderful. They all understood completely that half of our year we'd been closed, and so they all said, absolutely, we'd be very happy for you to keep our work till next year. So kindness, people have been very kind and thoughtful.
And I think something really good and positive has come out of the pandemic, hasn't it? That people have had time for reflection and contemplation that perhaps we never had before. So it's almost a wonderful idea, isn't it, that you've actually been able to hang on to the artwork for a whole year.
Yes. And it just shows you can plan, and I'm a great planner, oh my goodness. You can't plan for things, and I think this has really taught me that. You can't plan for everything. And that just shows you that there is something bigger than you out there. You know, we're not in control completely.
We're not.
But that's another story for another day.
It is. So, I mean, just quickly, really, about your story, because you've been here how long now?
Next year will be 12 years, yes. And when I actually started the rolling art program at the cathedral. Since end of 2008, but beginning of 2009, we wrote an arts policy, and we have been delivering 2 or 3 exhibitions every year, which most of them include community as well. We did wonderful Le Colombe, if you remember, the doves in the nave after the Novichok incident, bringing our community together all the time. And I think that's the one thing that was a surprise for me, is how people engage with the art, because a lot of people in our community think that this beautiful building, this church, this cathedral is really only for a certain echelon in society, or only religious people. But by putting the sculptures and the works of art outside, they have become curious, because people are curious, and we've managed to managed to draw them in, and they've become part of our community. So we've actually reached out to the wider community, and we sort of embraced and brought them in, and we are a stronger community for it, and the art has helped to do that.
Definitely, it has. I mean, I've actually, I can hold witness to that, because I've actually sat in the close in the summertime when we couldn't meet in people's houses with friends, having a picnic, and had a lovely afternoon surrounded by the most gorgeous artwork. So thank you, Jacquiline.
My pleasure.
So where did the interest in art start for you?
Oh, gosh. 6 years old, I started painting, and I remember, it's strange, I don't know why I'm telling you this story, because I don't think I've told many people the story, but I remember the headmaster at my school calling my parents in and saying to them, if you can't afford for Jacqueline to have art lessons, we'll pay for them.
Wow.
And immediately he introduced me to this wonderful woman called Faith Hooper. I can remember her name, I can't believe that, and I'm 5 years old. That's 50 years ago. And it's always been art for me. And then I studied fine art, and then I studied graphic design, and then I worked with some of the stonemasons here in this cathedral, carving stone, and it just kind of happened from there. And then I honestly believe that that I was called to do this, that it was just something I was meant to do, and that I followed the breadcrumbs, and here I am.
Well, you are the woman who's fully embraced the spirit of Salisbury Cathedral. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it's my other home. It's my home from home, yes.
Oh, well, congratulations. I think it's an amazing exhibition. And for anybody listening to this or watching this, it's open until April. You do have to do a booked appointment though, don't you?
Yes. So if you go online, you can book an appointment. And we really only do that for track and trace reasons. And we're open from 10 till 4.
But well worth a visit, even if you were just to come to the outside and have a cup of coffee in the grounds. Or...
Well, it is a remarkable building. It is. She's very elegant. I call her she. She's very, very elegant building. And worth a visit just to see the building, really.
Thank you very much for inviting me here today to the cathedral and coming on Tea Time.
Thank you, Ali, and it's so lovely to actually share it with you.